Jamal Nias here with the legendary David Bradley here at Liverpool Comic-Con. I'm sure a lot of people have been talking to you about the Red Wedding scene in Game of Thrones, one of the best television scenes in TV history. When that's happening on set, how crazy is that, and what was your reaction when you read that script?
Well, I wasn't expecting the scene because I hadn't read the books, and when I did my first episode earlier on, my first episode as Frey, I had no idea that it would lead to that. So when the Red Wedding came, because at first, after the first scene I did, I thought, that was fun, that was a nice little job, a couple of days filming, but I thought, we're in business here, something's going on, but I wasn't prepared for the reaction.
Oh, it's crazy.
People from all over the world, people filmed their friends watching it, and they were jumping up and cursing me and calling me all sorts of things, and and it was like, and I loved it. I just loved the fact that it got that kind of reaction. And I watched a program with my wife about the 50 most shocking moments on TV, and it got down to 40, 30, 20. I thought, we're not going to be on this. And then it got down to number one, and I thought, wow, and it was like, but the reaction, and people say, I hate you, and I say, you don't, you love to hate me. There's a difference, and I found it oddly funny. I know it's shocking, and what happens and everything, and all the blood and all and people horrified, and I think Walder Frey found it amusing as well. He was getting his revenge, and he exists. I don't see him as just an evil villain or anything. I'm just seeing it as a man who's living in a really harsh world, and it's a question of survival. And if you don't show that you're strong after you've been slighted or you've been insulted, and as he feels he was, by the Starks, then he's got to do something to keep his credibility up, otherwise he's dead himself. So that's how I looked at it. And but all I had to do was just sit and drink wine and grin and watch all the carnage going on, which, for him it was like watching the floor show of his dreams, and it was just one of those great jobs and one of those great parts, and I loved playing him.
And the way he went out as well was quite famous as well. Do you think he deserved to get that in the way that he went out?
I think it was coming, and I think a lot of people were waiting for it, and I knew something was coming up, but I didn't know in what form it would take. Again, because I didn't read the books, but it was just a joy working on it, and the hardest part was learning the welcoming speech to everyone, where he's smiling and welcoming all the guests and talking about family and the importance of family and trying to remember his daughters' names, and that took a long time, about 40 takes to just remember all that dialogue. And so I made sure I knew it before I started, so then we could just get on with the bloodshed and sitting down and enjoying it.
You definitely did.
Thank you.
And then when we look at Harry Potter as well, that's another character where he's obviously not hated. Filch isn't hated like Walder Frey was, but he's a bit of a Grinch. He's a bit grumpy.
Yeah.
How was it playing him and being part of that universe? Because that became a whole different entity, just like Game of Thrones did.
Yes, more so than I thought. Because on paper I thought, well, it's not a big part, but it's like a fun cameo. And I know he hates kids, and he's just always trying to get them into trouble, and he's unhappy with his lot because he's a squib, but a lot of it comes from fear, because he fears that which he cannot understand, people like him, and he fears Harry because Harry's got more power over him, so and he's always expecting them to show that power, but he doesn't see them as decent kids or anything. He just sees them as a threat to his authority, and it's like stereotypical Jobsworth, and he's got the caretaker's uniform, and his ability to hand out punishments and discipline is what kind of keeps him going, because that gives him the only authority he's got and the only self-respect he's got. And I know he's quite unpleasant, but I think what makes him human and rescues him is his love for his cat, and a lot of people identify with that. And I thought when I first started, I thought, oh, kids are gonna hate me everywhere in the world. You can imagine. But when I got my first laugh on the first premiere, and I heard them, I thought, oh, we're okay. They like him. Yeah. You know.
He became quite a comedic character.
Yes, and that's important to me. You know, that they found him funny, because it's the humour and the cat that makes him human. So he's not just a cardboard cutout villain figure, you know, which is a bit boring. You know, it's all boring playing the hero or the villain. But as human beings, we've all got lots of different sides, and I think I was just glad the storylines kept him as part of it, and the fact that it's so popular, especially with kids, to me is very important. Yeah.
Brilliant. And finally, just the last one, what would you say is your favourite moment on set from Harry Potter, if you had to pick one?
I think in the scene where he bursts through the crowd to see his cat petrified in Chamber of Secrets, which is my favourite book, and it was my favourite experience because my daughter, she joined me just for a few days on the set. She was just visiting, and Chris Columbus said, "Is that your daughter?" I said, "Yeah." "Give her a uniform, put her in the scene." And so she was one of the kids, and I got a brief glimpse of her in the scene, that one scene, but it was a great scene anyway. You burst through a crowd, and you're with Richard Harris, Ken Branagh, Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman, and all those, and I've got a big scene where he throws a complete wobbly and screams at Harry, and it was like just one of those scenes that I thought, well, it's great, and especially getting a glimpse of my daughter in it.
Yeah. That's a brilliant story, and I really appreciate your time, David.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.